Who wants to play video games?
BMO! What's on the menu, BMO?
So I recently caught up on Season 2 of Fiona and Cake. Liked the Huntress parts, but the Fiona parts were hit and miss at times. Oh, but that's not what this review is about. I bring it up because it put me in an Adventure Time mood, and that stirred up a memory of a demo I played on my 3DS all the way back in 2012. Adventure Time? Hey Ice King, why'd you steal our garbage? I remember I liked the demo, but then I didn't get the game. But that changes today! Let's see if the full package is as enjoyable as I remember the demo being. Hello everyone, my name is Quinma, and this is my review for Adventure Time Hey Ice King, Why'd You Steal Our Garbage? As per usual, a link to the trailer you watched is in the description, and I will be starting with a story recap. If you want to go in unspoiled, then you can jump to the time on screen to skip to the gameplay section. Now, it's Adventure Time! Our story starts in the dreams of Finn the human. In his dream, he is visited by the Cosmic Owl. And for those who are not caught up on Adventure Time lore, the Cosmic Owl will occasionally visit people in their dreams, and what is seen in a dream that the Cosmic Owl is in will come true. In the show, it is typically dreams of one's death, but there are exceptions. Now in this dream in particular, Finn and Jake the dog are interacting directly with the Cosmic Owl, and Jake is insulting this great deity, naturally upsetting it, as well as concerning Finn. Before things can escalate further, Finn wakes up. To make him feel better, Jake takes Finn to a secret basement in order to let out his frustrations. There, they meet up with their buddy BMO. BMO provides a tutorial and then joins the duo for their adventures. Oh, and while he doesn't really play a role in the story, I just wanted to say it's nice seeing Finn's robot son Nepter just casually hanging out in the treehouse. Anyhow, when the group leave their home, they see that their garbage can is missing. While trying to figure out why, the evil Ice King comes flying in, taking credit for the deed. Ice King claims he had hid it somewhere and the heroes will have to find it. After he leaves, Finn states that they need to teach Ice King a lesson by kicking his butt. So now it's time for the adventure to begin. First, Finn and Jake pay a visit to Hot Dog Princess. She informs them that, while hanging out with Lumpy Space Princess, one of her hot dog knights went to investigate the mysterious tree dungeon and hasn't returned. Finn and Jake visit Tree Trunks on their journey. She says she wants a strange ingredient to make a pie out of. As the boys are fans of Tree Trunks' pies, they add finding such an ingredient to their to-do list. They find such an ingredient rather quickly as they receive a sock from Raggedy Princess. When giving the sock to Tree Trunks, she is quite excited and makes a shoe fly pie. Despite the stink, Finn is happy to take the pie. Tree Trunks does promise though that she'll go back to making the boys regular old apple pies when they next visit. Speaking of visits, Finn and Jake head out to the Housies, or House People's village. They learn that Donnie the Ogre has stolen the village's mail. For context, if you don't know Donnie, he's a big bully who tormented the Housies in the past, but Finn and Jake took care of him back then. Now in the present, he's up to no good again. Also in the village, they meet with Princess Bubblegum. Princess Bubblegum points out how there are dangerous monsters about and animals with dangerous tools threatening the land of Ooh. They seem to originate from the tree dungeon that Hot Dog Princess mentioned before. It's also the last place that Ice King was seen. So she gives Finn the task of investigating the dungeon, which the hero readily accepts. After Princess Bubblegum leaves, they see that there was a torn piece of paper that was underneath her. The boys pick it up as evidence before heading out. The next stop the boys make is over by Donnie. Donnie gloats about how he stole the mail. Finn attempts to get Donnie to return it, but his words fail. Therefore, Finn and Jake decide to take the mail back by force. Donnie, the obnoxious grass ogre, doesn't go down without a fight, and since Finn doesn't have his sword right now, Donnie Donnie really puts up a good fight, but despite all the hits Finn takes, he still defeats Donnie and gets the mail back. With that settled, Finn returns the mail. The mail carrier sees that there is a letter for Finn. However, it is just a torn blank piece of paper. Regardless, it was sent to Finn, so he takes this piece of paper with him too. While they're there, Finn also provides one of the housies the shoe fly pie to help with her dog's fleas, as those bugs are attracted to the pie. As thanks, the housie gives Finn another slip of paper. Finn takes his 3 pieces of paper to the police officer, who discovers that it's a note to Finn from Ice King. Turns out Ice King had hidden Finn's sword underneath the boy's bed, which is very concerning that Ice King was able to do that, but nevertheless, Finn is able to retrieve his sword. With sword in hand, Finn heads off to the tree dungeon. The tree dungeon is incredibly windy, but thankfully, Finn isn't alone. With Jake's stretching ability, they're able to fight through the wind and find their way to Ice King. The self-proclaimed king has spent his time making a princess out of Finn and Jake's garbage. That oddity aside, the Ice King takes credit for attaching the tools to the animals in the land. He taunts the boys before flying away. Going past Garbage Princess, the boys come across the bear with a chainsaw. Enraged, the bear attacks. While it does big damage, Finn is still able to defeat it. Upon defeat, the missing Hot Dog Knight comes flying off the bear. Finn takes the Hot Dog Knight back to Hot Dog Princess. The princess informs them that she saw Ice King heading in the direction of the Candy Kingdom. Finn and Jake are about to head out for the Candy Kingdom, however, Hot Dog Princess stops them since she has another request. She wants Jake to turn into a bridge so she can walk all over him, which is very weird and understandably creeps Jake out. Nevertheless, Jake does need to turn into a bridge so that the boys can make it to the Candy Kingdom. They quickly run into Bubblegum Princess, who is chewing out Cinnamon Bun. Apparently, her pantyhose is missing. Jake volunteers the service of both boys to find the pantyhose. Finn suggests they look around the area. Meanwhile, Princess Bubblegum leaves to launch a full investigation. While wandering around, Finn enters a candy bar and meets the strange Billy Von Chocolate. Billy claims to be too covered in chocolate to have stolen anything. The owner asks for Finn and Jake to find a sponge to clean this Billy up. Adding it to the list, the heroes head out. They head to the Candy Kingdom Castle and speak with Peppermint Butler. Peppermint Butler states that Lemon Grab has some people locked up and wants to see some evidence to inspect to confirm if these people are as shady as Lemon Grab claims. As Finn heads out to find evidence, he ends up in the Duchy of Nuts. Here, he learns from the Duke of Nuts that his son has gone missing, his son just being a baby, so the probability of it being kidnapping is very high. As a hero, Finn adds rescuing the baby to his list. The Duke of Nuts gives the boys his son's birth certificate to help the boys identify the baby. Finn and Jake then pay a visit to Lemon Grab's prison to find out who has been locked up. One of the prisoners is the missing baby! But that's not all. Wildberry Princess and a pizza delivery person have also been locked up. The princess asks Finn to go to the bank housie to collect her diary that'll prove she's innocent. The pizza delivery person requests for Finn and Jake to deliver a pizza to Starchy the gravedigger and receive a receipt, as that would have the delivery time and prove his innocence. With these tasks now given to them, the boys head off to prove the innocence of the prisoners. Finn quickly makes his way through the graveyard to ensure he delivers the pizza while it's still hot. Starchy happily accepts and gives Finn the receipt. Then, Finn and Jake backtrack to the Housie village and obtain Wildberry Princess's diary. With these in hand, the boys return to Peppermint Butler to provide the evidence. Peppermint Butler agrees that the 3 did not steal Princess Bubblegum's pantyhose and orders to have the prisoners free. Finn heads back to Lemon Grab to deliver the news. After Wildberry Princess and the pizza delivery guy leave, Finn takes the baby back to the Duke of Nuts. As thanks, the Duke of Nuts give the boys a sponge, which Finn is not too pleased with as a reward, but takes it nonetheless. This sponge does prove useful, however, as Finn uses it to clean Billy Von Chocolate, revealing him to be Ice King. Something that the boys already suspected though, but the Ice King is convinced he tricked them. Anyhow, Ice King states that he's hidden the key the boys need to continue inside a nearby dog. After Ice King flees, the boys quickly take the dog to Dr. Ice Cream. Thankfully, Dr. Ice Cream is able to help the dog and provides the boys with the key that Ice King had shoved into the puppy. Finn and Jake use the key to open a door in the castle. Here, Finn learns a new ability that helps them move forward. They follow after the Ice King to the Tomb Dungeon. Deep in the dungeon, they find Ice King and a new Garbage Princess. This Garbage Princess is, once again, made out of Finn and Jake's garbage. Ice King also attempted to get it to wear Princess Bubblegum's pantyhose, but it didn't fit. Ice King then reveals that Princess Bubblegum has a cloning machine and he'll use it to make clones of his penguin Gunter. Knowing that they can't let Ice King get away with it, the boys chase him into Princess Bubblegum's lab. However, However, they're too late, as Ice King had already used the machine, which means the boys need to deal with the annoyance of taking out 100 Gunter clones. Of course, they're heroes, so they're able to defeat every single one. Afterwards, the boys return the pantyhose to Princess Bubblegum. Understandably, she is upset that it's filled with garbage, but the boys quickly explain that Ice King was the one who did that, so she lets it go. However, Princess Bubblegum does request that Jake grow into a giant, basically to show off to the candy citizens, especially the ones that look up to him. Begrudgingly, Jake agrees. Princess Bubblegum also informs Finn and Jake that she saw Ice King fly off towards Red Rock Pass. Therefore, the boys head to an open space nearby where Jake can show off. Jake grows to a great size, and funnily, when Jake lets out a fart, the rock blocking the way to Red Rock Pass is demolished, so the boys head after Ice King. They quickly find the Door Lord's door. It's shut up tight, but music would be able to open it. However, the band bugs that could open the door have gone missing. The remaining band bug believes that the marauders have them kidnapped, so Finn and Jake head off to the marauder village. In the village, they do find that the 3 missing band bugs have been kidnapped. One of the kidnappers will exchange his band bug for his stolen ball, another requests a candy cannon in exchange, and the last requests for a bonsai tree. Before Finn and Jake leave to find these items, they are challenged to a duel by the marauder leader. Finn happily accepts. However, despite his boasting, the marauder leader is pretty weak, and Finn and Jake are easily able to defeat him. Impressed, the marauder leader informs the boys that the marauders have been unable to go through the North Cave due to a monster that has taken it as its territory. Therefore, the marauder leader asks the boys with taking out that monster and retrieving its heart as proof. Finn agrees to the task, claiming that it's what heroes do. With all that settled, Finn and Jake go to collect the requested items. They find the ball in the mountains being guarded by the cutest warrior, Blip Blob. Despite what the marauder described, Blip Blob is laughably easy to defeat, so Finn recovers the ball with no issue. Then the boys go to the grasslands in the Candy Kingdom to obtain the bonsai tree and candy cane respectively. Upon giving the 3 marauders their requested items, Finn receives the 3 band bugs. Returning to the Door Lord's door, the band bugs reunite with their bandmate. They play their song, opening out the door, and Finn and Jake continue onwards. Finn and Jake make their way through the dungeon, and at the end they find their friend, Marceline the Vampire Queen. Marceline states that Ice King hired her to roughhouse the heroes for a while. With that motivation, a battle begins. Marceline is incredibly strong, so it takes a bit to defeat her, but defeat her the heroes do. Afterwards, Marceline gives the boys a scrap of paper from Ice King. It is basically an invitation to the Ice Kingdom. Finn informs Marceline that the marauder leader asked them to recover the heart of the monster, so Marceline gives him a demon heart as a substitute. Returning to the village and giving the leader the heart, he is quite happy. He rewards the boys by teaching Jake how to be a boat. With Jake's new form, the boys head off to the Ice Kingdom. There, they meet the Snow Golem. The Snow Golem is lonely, so the boys conclude that he needs a girlfriend. The Snow Golem gives him a note to give to his friend from the Cloud Kingdom to help the boys enter said kingdom. In the Cloud Kingdom, Finn and Jake meet the Party God. Party God said that he can create the Snow Golem a girlfriend, however, he will need 4 perfect clouds in order to do so. Thus, the heroes travel all over Ood in order to get the perfect clouds. After returning, Party God creates a girlfriend out of these clouds, and the boys return to the Snow Golem. As thanks, the Snow Golem informs Finn and Jake that only a glowing sword will be able to defeat Ice King, and they'll find it in the Fire Kingdom. The Snow Golem requests that, since Finn and Jake are heading to the Fire Kingdom anyway, to return a Firewolf pup that had found its way to the Ice Kingdom back to its proper home. With pup in hand, the boys head off. In the Fire Kingdom, they are greeted by Flame Princess. Flame Princess thanks the boys for returning the pup home. Finn and Jake explain that they're after the Ice King, but they can't get to him due to all the ice. Flame Princess gives them her family's precious glowing sword. With sword in hand, the boys return to the Ice Kingdom. Finn and Jake make their way through the icy and slippery Ice King's castle. Naturally, at the end of it all, they come across the Ice King, who is now wearing a powerful set of armor. Ice King reveals that he basically stole the hero's garbage for attention. He'll return the last garbage princess if Finn and Jake agree to be his best friends, which the boys refuse. Ice King then reveals that the princess he had was actually Lumpy Space Princess. In order to save Lumpy Space Princess, the boys fight Ice King. The glowing sword makes makes quick work of Ice King's armor. Being freed from the armor, though, makes the Ice King even more dangerous. Even so, Finn and Jake are able to take out the Ice King. However, the Ice King doesn't take defeat lying down. He uses his magic to turn giant, so the heroes need to chase him outside for a rooftop battle. While it should be a tricky fight, Finn was clever enough to trivialize Ice King's attacks and defeated the villain quite easily afterwards. With that whole plot resolved, Lumpy Space Princess is freed. All the friends convene and Ice King returns the last piece of garbage, an ashtray. Turns out though that this ashtray was a homemade gift from Lumpy Space Princess. Lumpy Space Princess freaks out and in anger declares she'll destroy the world, so she runs off into Lumpy Space. Getting help from Jake's girlfriend, Lady Rainicorn, Finn and Jake go after Lumpy Space Princess. The three of them take on the angry princess, and she is surprisingly tough. Nevertheless, the heroes come out on top, and for some reason, the Cosmic Owl reappears to strike the final attack against the princess. Afterwards, Lumpy Space Princess calms down and apologizes for her extreme reaction. She states that she doesn't want to destroy the world, she wants to live in it. Now that the land of Oo has been saved and the ordeal with the stolen garbage is settled, the story ends. As an Adventure Time fan, I enjoyed the little story. The characters remain in character, except for Hot Dog Princess. That was strange how she acted after rescuing her hot dog night, but other than her, everyone was consistent. However, the story was structured around constant fetch quests. I'd be 100% A-okay with it if all the required items were within one kingdom. However, there is constant backtracking to the previous kingdoms to obtain what is needed. The worst of it is when the heroes are tasked with getting clouds to make a girlfriend for Snow Golem. Not only did backtracking to all these previous kingdoms feel annoying to me, but the motivation for doing so wasn't very strong. I have to go backwards to help some guy get a girlfriend? Sure, he's a good guy, but quite literally creating a girlfriend for him doesn't sit right with me. Overall, it felt like the game was unnecessarily padding for time, likely due to how even with this padding, the game is very short. While I can see the game's length being a negative to some, and honestly that was my gut reaction too, after sitting back and reflecting more on it, I think the game's short length is more of a strength than a weakness. This isn't some sprawling RPG, it's a cartoon tie-in game, and I think it captured the spirit of the source material well. However, how does it hold up as someone is coming in with no knowledge about Adventure Time? Heck, why don't we pretend that this someone who came in has somehow never even heard of Adventure Time and just got the game because they thought the box art looked nice or the title was funny. Is this title beginner friendly to the franchise? I presume the answer is maybe? The characters are not introduced to the player, so a newcomer would have no idea who Nepter is, for example. However, the first episode of Adventure Time also doesn't really introduce the viewer to the characters, basically being a cold open to the show. Honestly, there are only two characters in the game who I feel like would have needed a clear introduction for a newcomer: Marceline and Lumpy Space Princess. Regarding Marceline, a character in the Marauder village does allude to her, assuming that the child of the Lord of Evil would be terrifying. However, if you do not know Adventure Time, then you'd probably not realize that he's talking about Marceline, rather that he's describing some evil, demonic upcoming boss, which I guess technically is. However, how he describes Marceline is nothing like how she actually is. Not to mention, she and the heroes are friends with each other. I think a newcomer would be rather confused about this random friendship that's going on. Then there's Lumpy Space Princess. Yes, Lumpy Space Princess does appear in all four areas, however, you don't really get any information about her. All you really learn is that she's apparently a princess and is friends with Finn and Jake, so you'd understand why they'd be concerned when Ice King reveals that he's kidnapped her. However, her words before attempting to destroy the world would likely seem weirder than weird, rather than just regular weird. One other character appearance that was confusing was the Cosmic Owl, and this is regardless to whether the player is a beginner or not. Due to the interaction with the Cosmic Owl at the beginning, the story is framed as though it will appear as a secret final boss. While it does reappear at the end, it reappears as a Deus Ex Machina. Finn and Jake are heroes, and we're already receiving help from another Deus Ex Machina, named Lady Rainicorn. If you do not know Adventure Time, then the reaction to the Cosmic Owl is probably along the lines of, "What's with this random owl?" On the other hand, as someone who has watched the series, my reaction was, doesn't every dream that the Cosmic Owl appear and become reality? Why is the ending not a replica of the beginning? What? Taking all that together, from what I can see, from the viewpoint of someone who knows and enjoys Adventure Time, this story is a good time. However, from the viewpoint of a beginner to the franchise, this story is kind of confusing. The gameplay, on the other hand, doesn't have any bar of entry. Unless you're like me and terrible at 2D platformers, then you need to deal with 2D jumpiness. But I'm getting ahead of myself. At the end of the day, this Adventure Time game is an adventure genre game. The player takes the role of Finn the human, with Jake hanging out of Finn's bag, providing support to the protagonist. In the overworld, the player travels to different areas, just like a typical adventure game. New areas get opened up as Jake grows in power over the course of the story. However, dungeons are much different. Dungeons are more of a platformer affair, full of bottomless pits and enemies to fight. Sometimes there will be puzzles in the dungeons, however it is rather hard to call them puzzles considering how one is likely to complete them without even recognizing that it was supposed to be a puzzle. Personally, when I think of adventure titles, with the exception of Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, 2D platformer is not the gameplay I expect to come across. When traveling to area, the player has to play through a platforming section. Additionally, there are platforming sections in dungeons. All in all, these platforming sections aren't really that hard. I'm just really bad at 2D platformers, so I died a lot. But I'm sure most players would not. It was especially annoying in the ice-themed dungeon. Since this game uses save spots and I'm bad at platforming, when I died in this dungeon, I was forced back to the beginning due to how that was the only save spot. Again, it's not hard or unfair, I'm just bad inventing. When it comes to fighting enemies, both Finn and Jake have their own moves, connected to their own buttons. I typically only use Jake's attacks for support, relying mostly on Finn. I bring this up because Finn's sword is connected to his health. If Finn's health gets too low, then he will punch enemies instead of slicing them. Over the course of the game, the player needs to unlock new abilities. Some are useful for combat, but majority of them are for adventuring through dungeons. Strangely, such abilities are learned through treasure boxes, though these treasure boxes are telegraphed pretty easily due to being a necessity to progress forward. However, what is weird about these treasure boxes is that in order to level up, the player needs to find a treasure chest that contains a level up and then apply it to their preferred stat. The treasure chests that contain level ups are out of their way and some are easily missable. This mechanic is one that I did not like. If my character is going to level up, then it should be through my actions in battle, not because I found a random treasure box. It did not feel satisfying to level up, and going long periods of time without finding a level up box made me feel more anxious than anything. My reaction to finding a level up box was more like a "finally found that stupid box" instead of an "awesome, I found a level up box, I'm so cool," the latter of which is undoubtedly the reaction the developers were looking for. The one and only way I can defend this mechanic is if it was occasionally a reward for winning random encounters. However, it is not. The only thing anyone can win from a random battle is a random item. These random battles are encountered in the overworld, where it is clearly telegraphed as to where a group of enemies are. The battles are like a miniature version of the large dungeons, and as I said, the reward is a random item. As there is a limit to how many items Finn can hold in his bag, these random battles may not always be worth participating in. However, they are fun. Despite the lackluster reward, I'd sometimes go into a random battle just for the fun of it. The items that can be won through battle or found in dungeons are typical. Some do damage and some heal. The reason I bring it up is because some of the healing items can be combined. Finn can find condiments that he can apply to his food. If the condiment is traditionally found on a food item, then it makes the healing effect better. However, if the condiment and food item do not typically mix, then the healing effect goes down. What does not go down is the presentation. Honestly, the presentation is pretty basic, but I'm not expecting anything breathtaking from a licensed game. The visual presentation is just fine. I appreciate the backgrounds looking authentic to the source material. I really like the sprite work gone into the game. They're so expressive, not to mention that they are a perfect adaptation of the original characters. I am disappointed though that for portraits used for the cutscenes look like they're quite literally a copy and paste from random shots in the show. It feels sort of lazy, and despite the game being an adaptation, out of place. Personally, I'd rather original sprite art be used for the cutscenes, or if the team was pressured to use these cutouts, to maybe reuse scenes from the original show and retool them for the story. Sure, that could be seen as lazy as well, but it could justify the character portraits. To be honest, it is a little hard to explain why I feel these portraits look to be out of place in my eyes, especially in comparison to the rest of the presentation. I like the design of the enemies though. The ones that were based on characters in the show made me smile because, just like the sprite art of the main characters, they were perfect adaptations and full of life and references in their attacks and animations. Then the enemies that are original to this game fit the world and story, so they felt like they belonged rather than out of place. Then the music was amazing. Was most of it just compressed versions of the songs in the show? Yes. Do I care? No, the original tracks were good too. In fact, the music was so good that I often complained that a certain sequence was already over because it meant I couldn't listen to the music anymore. This is a pretty short review in comparison to my other ones, but with a simple story and simple gameplay and just a fine presentation, there isn't really too much to talk about. As a fan of Adventure Time, I liked this game. While the story was simple, it felt like it could have been a multi-part arc in the original show. However, that being said, there were parts of the story that felt confusing. There was a character inclusion that was odd in my opinion as a fan of the franchise. However, in the hypothetical situation of this being someone's introduction to the series, the story really just plops you in, assuming that the player already is a fan. To be fair, the very first episode of the original series does the same thing. I adored the Easter eggs that were in this game, from its story to its environments to its animations, and of course, Finn and Jake's combat. The gameplay itself was a lot of fun as well. Like I said, I would sometimes go out of my way to get into a random encounter despite knowing I'd get no reward out of it. Do I wish level ups were a reward? Absolutely! Making level ups into a missable treasure was such a bad decision. I had a lot of fun with the game, sure, but I think I'll always complain about that mechanic. I also do complain about some of the visual presentation. I like it overall, but the character profiles threw me off. Thankfully, the music picks everything back up. Overall, the presentation was enjoyable, though the music was the strongest. All that being said, as an Adventure Time fan, I liked Adventure Time, Hey Ice King, Why'd You Steal Our Garbage? I believe even if I wasn't a fan of the franchise, I'd still very much like this game. I don't think it pulled me into the show, but it's still a fun game even without it.